So the waxing and waning, the emotional roller coaster of a fan base. If you ask this question on National Signing Day, there's some Ole Miss fans that were frustrated. Really frustrated. And then when you wait a month or a month and a half and see what Ole Miss does in the portal, everybody's back on board.
It's almost as if fans, they ride the wave of emotion. No, it should be somewhere around 9.5. I mean, what more could you have asked for considering what he was taking over? And just, it's not just that, they went 5-5 in year one, which a lot of people think they couldn't do, and then they win 10 games in the regular season in year two. Nobody in December of 2019 would have ever agreed to that happening. So Football's been good. But it's the attention that has been brought to the program. And some of it negative with the coaching search stuff and all that. There is a segment of the fan base that is not as satisfied as they should be because of the way, or maybe not the way he acts, it's the way he doesn't act. He's not visible. He's not accessible. You don't see him at the country club playing golf, and a bunch of people don't have his phone number and stuff like that. There's a segment of the fan base that doesn't like him because of that.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, and I was kind of headed down that road next. I mean, what should the level of satisfaction be on a scale of 1 to 10? North of 9. If you polled 1,000 Ole Miss fans, if you polled 10,000 Ole Miss fans, it's probably between a 7 and an 8, right? Because you get some that. You think I'm crazy for that?
I hope that you are. It would be ridiculous. The guy just coached you to one of the top four regular seasons in your
best regular season in school history. First 10-win season in the regular season in school history.
Yeah. And then has brought in, you said signing day, but when you take it as a whole, had a great recruiting class. But if you're saying 7 or 8, I'm sorry, but Johnny Vaught's not walking through that door. No chance.
But again, I think the reason that if you polled 1,000 Ole Miss fans, 700 of them would give him a 10, and then you would have 300 that gave him a number that was less than that, because you got some people that are turned off by the fact that his name is out there for every coaching search. And you got some people that are turned off by the fact that he lost a lot of guys on his staff. And you got some people that, were turned off for whatever reason. It should be north of a 9. In reality, it's probably, if you, again, polled 1,000 Ole Miss fans, hey, what's your level of satisfaction on a scale of 1 to 10 with Lane Kiffin and the job that he is doing at Ole Miss? My guess is it would average out to around an 8. What about Mike Leach at Mississippi State? Same deal. Poll 1,000 fans.
Let's tease that. We'll get to that when we come back.
Oh, we're out of time. Sorry. We'll do that when we come back. Sports Talk Mississippi, streaming at supertalk.fm and supertalktv.com. You can be part of the conversation on the C Spire text line at 601-879-4399. All right, so let's talk about Mike Leach. On a scale of 1 to 10, fans and their feelings about the head coach, how they view their head coach. 1 being awful, 10 being Nick Saban.
Between a 6 and a 7 for State. I think the combination, I think the way last season finished has just got a bad taste in everybody's mouth. We talked about it today on Thunder and Lightning podcast, why spring ball starts today, and there's just not a lot of buzz for Mississippi State. And there's just not a lot of preseason excitement. And I said this last year, I said, if they had won that bowl game, finished 8-5, I think people would have looked at State and said, man, they're bringing back so much production offensively, defensively, they return a lot. That should be a really good team. They might have had some preseason buzz, but losing that game, especially losing the way they lost it, just soured everybody. And you got everybody saying, well, it's Mike Leach, so you can't count on him to win the games he's supposed to win. So I think between a 6 and a 7, and the fact that he's 0-2 in the Egg Bowl doesn't help him at all either. So,
yeah. Anything, Borky? What should he be? What is he?
It might actually be the same. I would agree with Haydad, 6.5. Two things can be true at the same time. One, when this hire was made, and I remember saying this on the defunct Sunday show after the hire was made, if you expect this team to be good in year one, you are sadly mistaken. Because a lot of people are like, oh, yeah, before the schedule got all jacked up, oh, it's an 8-win team. He'll win 8 games in year one. No, he won't. This is not going to be a good football team. It's a similar transition, not as difficult, but a similar transition as Georgia Tech going out of the triple option into regular football. This is going from always run, never pass to literally we don't run the football unless we absolutely have to. And even then, I may not. It was an entire stylistic and cultural change. That takes multiple years to get right. So if you expected them to be great in year one, and if you expected them to be great, they should have been better, but great in year two, you were mistaken. And you should have known that when the hire was made. So on one hand, they have a losing record in year one, get to a bowl game in year two. The odds makers win-loss number will be 7.5, 8 this year. If they hit that number, go over, it's another successful year in the progression of a program. So this is something you should have expected. But also it can be true that you have been disappointed by some results. Although sketchy, you did lose to Memphis. You've lost to Ole Miss twice now. You were completely non-competitive in the Liberty Bowl against a team that fired their coach. Both can be true at once. You should have expected this, and also it should be better than what it's been so far in the first couple of years. There's reason for optimism, and there's reason for skepticism. That's why 6.5, I think, is fair.
I will say that your thought about his first year would have been a lot different if COVID doesn't happen and you're not playing 10 conference games.
Wouldn't have had a losing record.
I mean, they won 3 conference games. They probably could have won their non-conference games that year and been 6-6, 7-5, something like that.
Tend to agree with that. And would have had a normal spring.
Right. And I've said it so many times. The worst thing that happened to Mike Leach was KJ Costello throwing for 623 yards in the first game and beating LSU, because that set an unfair expectation. Everybody thought, okay, they're going to roll this year. The air raid is here, and it's going to rock. And then you go out the next week, and in Arkansas, who Leach is also 0-2 against. Moray was 2-0 against Arkansas. Mullen, early in his career, when Petrino was there, he never beat them. But then after 13, he only lost to them one time. Arkansas and Kentucky, those are games State needs to win year in and year out to stay, in the bowl picture. And right now, Kentucky's a toss-up, and you're 0-2 against Arkansas.
What's the win number for Mississippi State this year?
I've said all that negative stuff. They can win 8. I mean, they bring back so much. If they figure out the tackle positions and they can just be serviceable or just be good there, serviceable is probably not good enough. But if they can be good there, with Will Rogers and all those receivers, and you bring back a lot defensively, there's no reason to think they can't win their non-conference games and then go 4-4 in the SEC. They're going to lose to Alabama and Georgia. But everybody else, even LSU, that series has been very competitive over the past 6-7 years. There's no reason to just go ahead today in March and say, yeah, that's definitely a loss for State.